Hi, welcome to Earth and Sky. We're back again. Yay! And we're going to talk about Japan again.
Yay!
And yeah, because you did a lot.
I did a lot. We've covered a tiny bit in some of these videos.
I really thought we were like, this would be like 3 episodes, and it was just going to be like this whole thing and this whole thing, this whole thing. We're done. And it's we've now made it up a couple flights of stairs. And there's a whole mountain yet to go. And there's a whole lot. And you should see, her notes are just like...
I showed them a notebook today. So many.
So,
digital and handwritten.
Yeah, so we'll try to... I'm not sure we're going to like read all of the stuff to you guys, but we'll try and summarize, getting just general ideas. So, so last time we were talking about... So you're on Kurama. And we were talking about, so you've gone up all the major steps, right?
Entering into the temple.
The mountain temple, Kurama temple,
Kurama-dera.
I almost had it. Kurama-dera. And so as you go through the entrance, the first thing you see...
Yes, that beautiful rock
wall, right?
With the rocks that were so humorous.
And the ones that made you laugh so much.
Yes, it was so interesting.
Laughing rocks.
Still sounds crazy.
It does.
It really does, until you're there.
Laughing rocks.
It does. Absolutely.
So,
80s throwback.
We should have a filter for that. You know?
We talked a little bit about the laughing rocks, but we didn't get so much into the 4th day when I met the rocks. The lesson that they had for me then.
Yeah. So
the first day was a lot about humor, and people can watch the last video for that.
That's episode 2.
And then on the 4th day of going to the mountain, though these same rocks had a really interesting message that they brought out for me. And they were talking quite a bit about our animal nature and our human nature. And I started seeing them where before, the first couple of days of going there, I kept seeing their faces on the surface of the rocks. And some looked old, really old, some looked kind of timeless. But...
So you'd said this last time, and I want just to clarify, because that's kind of an interesting separation. So when you say old, I think they've like the gray hair, and you know what I mean, just the time on their face and everything.
Lines that show the stories.
Yeah. That they've really been there and they've seen things and all of that. And so that's old. And then you say timeless, and my brain goes, wait a minute. But old is kind of timeless, but timeless is also, I guess, I think of like a forever sort of a thing. So what do you mean by timeless?
Yeah, good question. So with timeless, some of the rocks had this very timeless energy to them, like a very ancient wisdom, but also a very light-hearted youthfulness. It kind of steps out of the boundaries of our linear time into this essence of being very light-hearted, very youthful, and this unchanging wisdom of the ages at the same time. It was hard with them to put a direct linear appearance on them, but maybe they would even shift within themselves, the energy within it would shift, and it was outside of linear time and this essence of timelessness. Sometimes you may have met a person that just seemed very ancient in the wisdom despite whatever age they are, and there's a timeless quality within them, a timelessness that no matter what shifts and seasons we may go through, this essence, this purity of the life within them exuberance.
Nice. Okay. So that makes now I understand. So you've got the old ones that have been there forever, and then you've got the timeless ones, and now are these now the animal ones, are these the same ones?
The same ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was very interesting, and they were shifting back and forth into animals and into their normal form, where they were talking about our human nature and our animal nature. And so often people want to separate who we are from animals. So sometimes people feel like we're so much more important because we're people. Somehow.
You've got humans and then animals, and it's like, I'm sorry, what?
No. We are all life forms.
Animals, yeah.
We are a version of animal. You can
Absolutely.
look at the chart, the scientific chart.
Absolutely.
We are a type of
Yeah,
animal.
however you want to look at it. However you want to look at it. We all break down to
Homo
animals.
sapien,
Absolutely.
exactly, is our
Yes.
version of animal.
Yes, yeah,
Exactly. And they started talking to me a lot about our human nature and our animal nature and what we can learn from each other. They started to show me kind of shifting within themselves. So those rocks that once looked very old and timeless with the human faces suddenly looked like lions or jaguars. Or I saw lots of big cats. That's one of my spirit animals, so I tend to see that frequently. I saw elephants and rhinoceros and warthogs and a little snail for one of the rocks.
Like the warthog?
Yes, exactly. It was really quite funny. And they were shifting back and forth talking about our connection with the animals. And sometimes we forget about the animal nature that we have, and we forget about our connection to the animal kingdom as well. We feel maybe superior, or we feel separated. There are some times where people feel like, well, I really like animals, but I don't really like people. And they addressed that as well. And they talked about how we need to really embrace our animal nature, because the animal kingdom, there's a divine animal kingdom that surrounds us in this earth, and the rocks were talking about the divine animal kingdom and how each of the animals love humans, and they specifically love when we create with the essence of love, because humans can create magnificent things. Humans can create huge things in a very tangible way that are different than what most of the animal kingdom creates. The way we create is quite different from many of the other animals. Other animals create elaborate structures and all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
But it's different the way humans create. And they love it when we create with the essence of love, because we can create magnificent things. But one of the...
That like embrace.
With like thoughtful, caring, thinking about what we're doing with what we're creating.
Because it enhances the other animal world as well as our animal world.
When it's done with love.
When it's done with love, yeah,
and
okay.
So often people forget about that aspect, though, and sometimes human nature will start to create with an essence of, how can I make it bigger? How can I make it more? How can I just fit, greediness definitely comes into it as well. And when we fall too far down the rabbit hole with that track of bigger is better, more money is better, all of these things, we lose focus of what our imprint is. And we're no longer creating with love, we're creating with that essence of greed or power or whatever it is that we're trying to do, while trampling on other animal species or other humans, animals.
Yeah. And I have to say, it just hit me that the idea of the Temple Mountain and the way that the Japanese have built temples on that mountain really flow with that idea, the idea of being built with love and thought and embracing the environment and the species in which it will interact with.
Yes.
It engages that.
Very well said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very well said. And I could see that in the workmanship of so many things on the mountain. The way they would work to integrate everything to be part of the mountain, instead of something like that just stands out in a clash, or something that's used with a lot of maybe unnatural materials.
Right.
And things like that.
Exactly.
They did a lot with working with the natural materials, and with a strong reverence for the energy that is in that place, and a strong reverence for the life that is already in that place, not just the human animals, but all of the life. And yes, that's a very good point.
Sorry, back to, so about how we interact.
Yes, and how when we create with love, when we think about all the things that we're creating in life, whatever ideas it is, whatever it is that you're building, whether it's just something around your house or if it's something monumental, it's really good to think about, what is your intention as you're building it? Is your space within yourself coming from a place of love? Are you coming from a place within yourself of thinking, how does this impact everyone around me? How does this impact the community? How does this impact fellow humans, fellow animals, fellow nature spirits?
And you had said about how also not just how it impacts, but how we rely on each other.
Yes, yes, that's right. Because they were talking about how we in the animal kingdom, we do a lot with working with each other. And the way we, when you look at the animal kingdom, you can see how some of the species really rely on each other for different things.
Right.
Some of them will keep each other warm in the winter. Some of them will build in places where others had, like a woodpecker, for example, is great at creating a big opening in a tree and having a nice home, and they'll raise their young in that hole. And once the woodpecker is done with that, a different bird species will come in and have a really nice ready-made home and build their own nest in there. Beavers, as they build their dams, it creates an oasis for other types of animals where they enjoy the same type of territory. And the things that they do, the things that they create and build, are helping the other species in that territory.
They share.
Exactly.
They share the process of what they do that benefits each other, moves their lives forward.
And they see how it works with each other. So if an animal is coming into a territory, say where beaver lives, and beavers created a big dam there, then the other animals that come in are going to be looking for a territory that has the type of resources that are there. Or they're going to be continuing on to another territory to find the resources that meet where they are. And when humans do that, it does an amazing benefit where we can see what resources are already in an area, what other humans are doing something similar that we can build something together with. What are the resources, and how can we increase our communities better by working together with things, as opposed to going in and saying, oh, let's just take all of that out, and I've got an idea and we're just going to shift it for this whole community, and the community will love it, and maybe not so much, or disregarding the animal species.
Or finding an area that needs something that you could bring to.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, I think, that's one place that I notice we as humans seem to fall short on, is just taking a moment, and instead of finding a place where, like, oh, I want to build this thing, there's a lot of people here that can buy my product, but instead of looking for that, looking for this product would be very helpful and in an area that was lacking in blah. And so if I were to go there, I may not make as much money, but I could help the people in a certain area so much more.
Exactly, exactly, yes. And there's this amazing, beautiful balance that comes in when we create things with love, when we incorporate into all of our goals and our plans and our relationships with other people and all animal species, when we come into that with the state of love, with the state of cooperation, with the state of harmony, with this desire to want to integrate together, it really is incredible the things that we can create.
And then what you had also said about while you're in that mode is allowing yourself to not take things as seriously.
Yes, because they were talking in this maybe meditation, you would call it, with this
the
wall of the rocks that were
laughing rocks.
Yes, as they were turning into the animal
say.
form. They talked about how we need to also just take ourselves so much lighter than we do. Sometimes in our society now, it feels so many take themselves so seriously, and they brought this in with the animal nature as well, because sometimes the animal relations are very interesting. You have the prey predator animals, and within each of those you have a lot of relationships that work together, that build together, that create the ability to have the cycles that we have. And the animals, they were showing me, really don't take themselves too seriously. They will have moments where they're very, very focused, whether it's a prey drive or something like that, or an escape, then they will take themselves, they're very, very focused in those moments when they need to be. And they also know how to rest very deeply and how to rest really well, and they know how to play. They've shown that playfulness in animals, there was a study that was done on this a while back, that the degree to which animals play shows their intelligence level.
Really?
Which is part of why we need to encourage children to play, to inspire their intellectual abilities to open more as well.
Because it stimulates that creativity.
Exactly. And
Interesting.
as we learn to let ourselves play, and as we learn to have fun with life instead of simply focusing on work and sleep because you're going to just crash at the end of the night, figuring out how can I have fun with this space? How can I enjoy the other animal species? How can I come into my animal nature a bit too? As a shaman, we often talk about how to connect with the animals around us and how to figure out what animals you relate to the most. And sometimes just for an aspect of play, you could figure out what is your spirit animal or what's an animal you really relate to a lot, and then bring those traits into your life. Have fun, dance around a fire, act like that animal. Really bring those traits in and not take it so seriously.
Now, when you say that, so if the animals, we are animals, and if animals each have their own traits, do we have, like, are there
As a
human animal based traits? Like, I mean,
Yes.
like an elephant would be considered wise and strong and, you know, thoughtful, things like that, those sort of traits. Would we have that kind of a thing?
And in talking with the divine animal kingdom, they speak a lot about humans' ability to create, because we create in ways that are beyond the scope of the type of things the other animals create.
That's
our power, our ability, our gift.
Gift
is
is the
creating.
creation. Oh,
Yes,
interesting.
it's creating
Okay.
with ideas within the mind. It's creating with our hands. It's figuring out what things are there on this planet that we can manipulate into all kinds of interesting textiles
Change
and yes, and the things we build, the things we create.
Yeah.
The shape of this world is so much better, so much different, I guess I would
Different,
say,
yes.
because of all of the buildings and all of the things that we've created. And I think sometimes people, and I've been guilty of this myself at times, judging about how much we as humans have created and feeling like that's a devastation to the animals. But the animal kingdom, the divine animal kingdom, says it's not about it just being a devastation. It's not that we've overbuilt or that we've destroyed what was. Everything in life is impermeable. Things are always changing, and humans are very rapidly changing the way the earth looks.
Absolutely.
But the animal kingdom loves when we create. They just want us to create more with love, to create more with thoughtfulness of how that impacts everything else around us for the long term, not just what can my project look like? How can I build this bigger or better or something like that? But they love humans' ability to create.
Nice, nice. So now, one of the things you just said was that reminded me of from last time when you had talked about the rock wall, was you had mentioned about their kind of life cycle, the
impermanence. Yes,
the impermanence of.
So that was another interesting thing. The mountain frequently talked to me about impermanence and how things are always changing. But there was a different part of the mountain that I was walking by. It was near where the temple of the future Buddha is. And there was a rock wall, an old rock wall that was man-made, kind of put in there. And the forest was talking to me about wanting to reclaim that rock wall, that it was already planning what it wanted to do. And the nature spirits that live in those rocks and that live in those trees in that area were talking about how they've been planning this, and they're going to be ready in their time, not too soon, which is hard to put in a human time. Who knows when that will be. But how they want to reclaim it, and they were showing me pictures of what it will look like with the storm that comes as it is reclaiming it, and those rocks are stirred together and the trees are sliding down, and what it's going to look like, and how they need to do that. They said they need to because they have an essence that wants to change and wants to grow and wants to shift into other areas as well, and that is how the forest reclaims itself, and that is how the forest renews itself. And one of the things they said was that they didn't want humans to be sad when it happened, but it seems inevitable that people seem to be sad when these things happen, because
when change happens.
Yes, because we love what once was, we love what we remember, we love thinking of the hands that originally built it.
Well, and we like things to stay.
Yes.
just so.
Yes, and it's a lot of work. If a forest reclaims a wall and trees are falling, that
Yeah.
means there's a lot of work that our
Yeah.
many hands are going to be doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they said, but this is the nature of the world. This is the nature of life, is impermanence and change. And all of the spirits that are in each of these rocks have a destiny themselves. When a spirit wants to become a rock, or it wants to become a tree, or perhaps it wants to be part of the kami of the mountain, it has an essence that wants to have a very long experience.
Yeah.
Those are built over, quite a long
Millennia,
time.
yeah.
And so when they decide that they're ready to change, as a collective, at least in this area, as a collective, the rocks that are in this wall, we're speaking with the kami that is in the nature spirits that are in the trees there, and they were saying that they were ready together. And once they were completely ready together, that's when it would reclaim itself, when the timing was right, and that it's because they want to. And so they have chosen to gain a lot of wisdom by being in the place where they are. And they have witnessed so many things with the people who pilgrimage to this space.
Being in that wall.
Yes, and witnessing the other nature spirits that are in the area, and the storms that blow in, and all of the lessons that each storm, every single one, has to teach them. They've been able to stand witness to that, and gaining that light in their soul, that wisdom in their soul, so that as that wall is reclaimed, those spirits will then scatter to other areas. And some of those spirits may choose to scatter within that area, or they may choose to scatter into some completely, entirely other being. They may choose to become human as a wise sage that carries all of this wisdom from what they've witnessed and known within the mountain. Or they said they may choose to be an idiot that just kind of walks aimlessly, seemingly, and has a life that is exactly what they want in that life. Because every life has a purpose.
Every life has a purpose, that's right.
And it's not a word I would use normally, but it's just what I was feeling from these spirits.
They said we could be super wise or so not wise.
Yes.
But that's okay.
And they might choose to be other species of animals or other types of nature spirits or people or who knows. There's so many abilities and options.
Now, when you say that about the rock wall, so a storm comes or whatever happens that disperses the wall and they reclaim the wall, now those essences would stay with those rocks until the rocks eventually break down? Does that seem right?
It actually can vary. So that was one of the questions that I had for it too. Yeah. And they said that sometimes when there's something really that is, jarring, that can split the rock a bit, then that is the opening from which the spirit of that rock will escape out. There will still be some energy, some parts, some other soul threads that will be in that rock giving it spirit. But part of it that wants to leave will escaped through that,
or some of it,
through that crack. And sometimes that will be, a rock might go into multiple pieces, maybe multiple lines of the souls will want to exit at that point, or if that rock has a really big spirit to it, a really incredible presence that has, it's one of those that people just feel. I feel my hands getting really hot as I'm talking about
I can feel it.
Yeah, and so as it breaks open, there may be part of it that wants to stay, or it might go through and bless many of the other rocks or other beings, other aspects, other trees or whatever that are in that area, and split off into multiple types of experiences. Or maybe it goes into the dirt and some of that goes in somebody's shoe and travels to another land. It's very interesting, and nothing is ever by accident. It is always part of the destiny.
The plan. Interesting.
At the top of the mountain, or were there more parts of that? At the top of the mountain, there was this tree that has been loved by many for a long time. Some people would go to the mountain because they wanted to see this 1,000-year-old tree that was on the top of the mountain. A very strong God spirit is considered to be inhabiting this tree.
It's been there for hundreds of years, so of course it'll be there when I get there.
And and the area experienced two typhoons pretty closely together, 2018 and 2019. And
yeah, that's pretty
there was a
close.
lot of impermanence. There was a lot of change
A lot
that
of
happened
change
to that
happened.
mountain.
Wow.
There were mudslides and so many trees that were down. I believe it was 483 days before the train could get back to the village.
Wow.
It was a lot. Many
year
had
change,
hands had,
year and a
yes.
half-ish.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I had to do a lot of work to get it coming back
Wow,
together
that's
again.
amazing. That's huge.
Yes, and there were two trees that were on the top that were very sacred that didn't make it. And before I had this...
Well, it chose to change.
Exactly, and I was just going to say, before I had this conversation with the nature spirits of the mountain,
Yeah.
I might have said, and unfortunately...
Right, it's so sad.
But it's not.
But it's not.
It's actually a really joyful occasion because they left this 1,000-year-old tree. It's on its side. I don't know if lightning struck it. There's a big hollowed section, it seems. I'm not sure.
It may have
what
been like
happened.
that before, who knows? Yeah.
But now that it's on its side, I feel this great release of dragon energy that has come from it. And if you look at the end of it actually points out over like the cliff, like the top of the mountain. It's pointing right out over the top of the
that's
mountain.
cool.
And it looks like the dragon's face is just blowing fire out through the front of it. And
That sounds awesome.
it's incredible.
That
And
sounds awesome.
I was talking with some of the other people that I had met up there about how it felt that the energy of that tree, some of it I feel had departed to another area. It wanted to live in another plane. But there was a bit of the energy that spread to many of the other trees that are up on top of this mountain,
Yes.
re-energizing them, invigorating them, creating this twin energy because the other trees had spirits in them already.
Of course.
But then it added to that, and that energy can add into the new growth of the trees that are just beginning to form as life
That's
as
awesome.
well.
That's
And
very
that
cool.
impermanence means that nothing is ever the same. Things are always changing, yet at the same time, nothing can go away completely.
Yeah.
You can never completely
You don't destroy
remove anything.
Yeah, you don't destroy energy. It just changes.
Exactly, yes. If you have a ceramic plate and the plate drops, all the pieces are still there, but it's in a different form.
Yeah.
You sweep it up, it goes, into the earth somewhere,
Hopefully.
and thousands of years later, it is still there. It's dust, but the dust is still there
Yes.
and being reclaimed into the earth, which
Making
could be made
foundation.
into something else.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes. And the
Nothing
same with
goes
this
away.
tree. There's another tree that was on the top of the mountain that shows where a vortex of energy is, a very strong literal vortex, because this tree grew in a spiral shape, a very tight spiral, where you can see the trunk just doing constant twists. And there are no other trees on the mountain that have such a twist in them.
Interesting.
And the second typhoon took that out, but they left the stump of it, so it's a couple feet, maybe 2 or 3 feet above the ground.
Nice.
So you can still see where the vortex
start
is.
of the, yeah,
And
nice.
so sometimes
nice.
people will sit in that area to feel that energy. I
Yeah.
could feel it through the entire top with that.
I
It was
bet.
quite
Yeah.
a ways out. You could feel the vortex of
Nice.
energy. And I did notice that there were some other areas where there were smaller vortexes on the mountain because the tree limbs or branches would twist
Kind
a
of
little.
doing that,
Or the
yeah.
branches, I showed you a picture, the branches
Yeah.
would grow in a circle around the top,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
very fascinating.
Yeah.
Instead of going out, they would
So like
circle.
in the grandmother tree that looked like it was sort of hugging and stuff like that.
Yes,
so, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
some smaller
Just very
vortexes, another
interesting,
part.
yeah.
But yeah, fascinating at the top. It's very tight vortex of energy.
It's amazing.
But yes, there were so many times the mountain spoke about impermanence and how we can let go of things and how nothing has ever gone from us. And we might get more into that in another talk
Yes,
as we
I think
talk
that's it.
about, death and transitions and things like that with
Nice.
impermanence. And
Nice.
but yes, it was quite an experience, and so much that just came from those rocks and that rock wall.
The
That
laughing rocks.
I can see in my head where each of the rocks are on this wall. It
That's
was
amazing.
and then even going up in different parts, after they had talked to me about our animal nature, I noticed other rocks that I would see, whether it was in the rock steps or other small parts on walls going up, I would see the shift into different animal shapes at times. And
Interesting.
the warthog came up a few times, which
That's
was
funny.
really
That is funny.
fascinating to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Again, our laughing nature, our ability to have fun fun with
have
things.
fun with it. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I hope you like that. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And go to our website.
earthandskycenter.com. Sign up for our email list if you want to be advised of different things that we have coming up. We will be
Classes and
planning a Sacred
notifications.
Journeys trip to
Oh, yeah,
Italy. If you
yeah.
want to join us in Italy, we might be going to France as well. That'll be in about 2
2
years,
years,
so
yeah.
stay tuned for that. If you want information, definitely join our mailing list. I will be starting another Reiki 1 class this summer, so if you're interested in that, definitely join our mailing list.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we have
Stay up to
classes
date.
going all the time, though.
Absolutely. So, hope you like it. See you next week.
Have a great day.